Hello, hello, hello. I am Dr. Letitia Graves Nash, bringing to you another love note. So, we call these love notes because we really do them out of love. We do them as one of the consequences of loving sometimes just the wrong people. But this love note, it's about mama's tears or when mama cries. I back in the day, I wrote a poem called "When Mama Cries," but I've had the experience of trying to protect my children, not overthinking a situation, playing it low, not knowing really if I needed to take things serious. So I was left to make a decision, and I was not able to. So what was happening was my divorce is not final, but some other information came out about what was going on behind closed doors. But there was nothing really we could actually do about it. It was happening. It was in the past, and I just did not want to drag my family, myself, for that matter, back into court, trying to justify everything that I was standing in the gap for, or just basically doing what God told me to do, or what I felt God was telling me to do. So here we are, and we document everything, but we do not violate. Like, we just don't get into people's faces. We don't go into their property. We do not stalk, or we don't follow anybody. And it was coming to a point to where things were beginning to look a little weird. So my ex would and he's a really good guy. I'm not trying to make him look bad or whatnot. So these are just things that he was doing that we did not know how to react to them. And I'll tell you some things that I kind of did in the end just to protect my children. But here we go. He would come to my house. Like, I would tell him, I know visitation starts at my home, pickup was at my home, but there were nights where I had to work over. And I would tell him exactly where the child is, yet he would not come to that location. And it was okay, but just communicate that you weren't going to come to that location and you were going to go to the house. So he would say, it's pickup is at this location, but I would just express to him, like, look, I'm working late. This is not something that I'm doing on my own. There was another time where I would say we're in traffic. I know pickup is at 6 o'clock, no later than 6:20. But there is an emergency. Like, this is an emergency that I cannot control. Then the car runs hot, and now I have to get like an oil change in the process. So it's so many other things were happening that I just could not. I couldn't get him to understand, like, these are not something that I was doing. So in the essence of he would getting documentation, he would come to the door, and he would video record himself, talking to the door. But my door wasn't open. I was at work, so it was like, why would you do that? I know that you were there, and you want to get documentation that you were there at that particular place to pick up your child, and I understand the gestures, yet he overdid it. On numerous occasions, I would see him walking around my house, recording through the window of my home, my front door, recording my tag on my vehicles. And it's like, my tag on my vehicles, they're in my yard parked, no cars running. Like, what was the purpose of you recording my tag? So I know you want to get evidence again that you were at the home to pick up the child, but you were told where the child was. Why go there instead of, forfeiting your visitation? From my understanding, forfeiting your visitation. So we didn't know what was going on. Another occasion came around, and he would walk up to my son's car, and my son would be sitting in the car minding his own business, or he'll be watching TikTok, or again, just minding his own business. And my ex-spouse would come around and walk around his vehicle while he's in the car and record him. Like, you're reaching, I'm gonna say, you're reaching for something, and you're gonna offend someone on the wrong day, and they're going to retaliate. So I felt like he was taunting him. You want him to say something. On a different occasion, my son was pumping gas in the town where he works, and my ex-spouse parked his vehicle directly in front of him. You would think that he would get out and pump gas, but he did not. He just kind of sat there, and my son was in the car, and he called me, and he said that he had taken a picture, and I said, just don't do anything, don't say anything, take a picture, say if you don't need gas right now, just pull away, and come on home, we can get gas while you're here. And then there was just another instance where he was recorded taking pictures of my son's fiance's vehicle, of course, and her, and he was just like, okay, Mom, what do we do? Because this cannot continue. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. He came over again, I guess, to either drop off for visitation or pick up for visitation, and he blocked the driveway, which he normally do every time he comes over anyway. He just parks at the end of the driveway. And I would always say, park behind the parked car, or just move up a little bit so that if someone needs to come into the driveway or go out of the driveway, they can. But he would always block the driveway. This time he blocked the driveway, and my boyfriend could not get through. So my boyfriend ended up having to go all the way around. And of course, lo and behold, he took a picture of the vehicle and the tag. That wasn't the person to violate. So we had to make amends, and people were just getting tired. We were getting tired. I was getting tired, and I cried out to God, and in my crying out to God, I just did not know what to do. I didn't even know what to ask God for. And so I would call police, I would call friends, and they would say, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. But why is he doing that? And the minute they asked me, why is he doing that? I did not have an answer. And the sheriff came by and said, look, you got to protect yourself, and you got to protect your children. And I bawled. I cried so hard. And when a mama cries, when a mother cries, I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I wasn't even hurt. I felt like I could not protect my kids. I felt like there was nothing I could possibly do to protect them, because he was not, quote unquote, saying anything. He wasn't threatening us verbally. He would just kind of like walk around us and take video and picture of us while we weren't doing anything. But he did this consistently and over and over and over again. And in the back of my head, I'm like, Letitia, just don't overthink it. Don't put too much on it. But the consistency of doing it when you really didn't have a reason became a nuisance. It became an issue. It became a problem. It became, you need to do more than just document. So we ended up filing charges of trespassing, and it kind of calmed everything down, but it almost made everything a little bit worse. Well, I can't say it made everything worse. I just know that he was now strictly sticking to the order, which is fine. But there were, like, when there was an emergency coming up, there was nothing you can do but come into the emergency, let them know what's going on, and document that. But my neighbors were now watching and taking video and said, well, hey, he just pulled off. And I'm looking at the time where he's pulling off, and I'm texting him, hey, we're right down the street, and here it is. We're watching him pull away, not wanting his visitation. And he's going to tell the courts that I refuse to give him visitation. Yeah. What do you do? What do you do? So in the days to come, we're going to find out exactly how God stepped into this position, how God pulled us through this, how the weapons may have formed, but they did not prosper. We're going to see, good or bad, what God decides to do with this situation, because I'm tired. My family is tired. My children are tired. We're tired. And we want a life where we can just live and be whole and be at peace. I am Dr. Letitia Graves Nash, and this is your love note when Mama cries. So what do we do?